I've been thinking about fear lately because I've had a couple of calls and I've noticed this pattern. It's almost kind of strange the way I work through a lot of my different coaching clients. I'll have a week where the same topic kind of just keeps popping up. Fear has been a really big one, and how it kind of gets in the way of people's goals, and people like safety. So once they get through what I perceive to be some of the worst times of their life, they're so scared of that moment that even though objectively their life is better, they're so scared of it repeating or something similar repeating that they play it safe, and they don't try to go for what they actually want.
Hmm.
They say, I got out of this and things are okay. And let me just make sure that things stay okay, because if I try to do anything else, it's all going to come crashing down and I'll be back where I was 5 years ago or when I was a kid or something.
I mean, fair. I mean, isn't that what learning is? That you know, you hit a ditch and then you make sure you don't hit that ditch again,
It
right?
is, it is, it is fair, yes. But it made me think, I guess it made me think about my own fear. I tend not to think about fear too much anymore. And I think I'm just coming over the hump of a period of my life where fear was kind of everything. How am I going to support my family? How am I going to do this? How is the business going to work? How is every little thing was stress all the time. And now for the last year or two, it's kind of been like, okay, like I've gone through the fear. Horrible stuff has happened. I've done it. And it's like every time that I begin to feel that fear or that anxiety that we were talking about in the last session, I th- this thought pops up. It's kind of self-talk, I suppose, where it says, like, well, you've been through, you've had challenges before, you've had fear before, you've had this happen, you've had that happen, and everything has been okay. You figured it out each and every time. You've gotten out of it every time, and things are better now. So why would you worry? Just trust yourself. And I've been able to say that enough times to where anytime fear kind of pops up, I just say, well, it'll be okay. So even though I might be scared, I was like, it's okay. Like, you'll be fine. And I just go through it and I forget about it. And I don't go through that whole thought loop of what could happen, what if this happens, and everything like that. But it made me think, hearing it from some of my clients, that it's been a while and I should actually really think about fear. I keep saying it's okay and it's okay and it's okay. And that's great. It's getting me to the next day. But sometimes I think it's worth it to actually go into it, even when you think you're okay, because it's not some trivial thing. Fear is not some trivial thing. And you can kind of, in a naive way, think you're not scared and just keep things moving all the time. And so I wanted to come today and maybe talk about fear and how it relates to your goals. If you're not in that fear, like, where does fear kind of play a role in your life when things are good too? And how do you get out of it when things are bad? How do you kind of put it to the side or deal with it or carry the weight of that fear as you move forward?
Yeah, it's for me, I think the best way to deal with fear is to embrace it, you know, and not in like, oh, I love my fear and it's, but you take it on and you kind of look at it and say, who the hell are you? What are you? Right? Where did you come from? What the, F are you? And there's different ways of looking at fear. So when I started to learn about our nervous system and how our nervous system reacts to fear, that's a very mechanical way to look at fear. And I find it very, very informative that and we've talked about this a few times, that we are threat detecting machines inside our brains. And that is what keeps us alive. It keeps us safe, or it attempts to. And so what happens is our brain is constantly scanning what is going on in my environment that could be a potential threat. And so you could, let's go back to caveman times, and you see a mammoth, pounding its way through to you, and you're in its way as it's, it's going to attack you, or it's just running in, and before you can calculate, well, should I run left or should I run right? Or should I, your brain is going to kick in and figure it out for you. and it's going to send messages to your nervous system, run, or, pick up your spear and throw it at the mammoth, or freeze up so it doesn't see you and it's not your prey. You're not its prey. So that's very effective. Okay, now fast forward to 2025 and you have that in you. Okay, now connect that with the fact that you're going to have memories that happened. And so maybe your memory is, I invested money in something and I lost all that money. And during that time, I was, wearing a certain kind of outfit, or I was dating a certain person, or, whatever that connection was. I'd quit drinking coffee or something. So you try, because we are pattern makers in our brains, we try to find things that connect. Now you're going to connect something that happened during that time with that fear. So that's where a lot of the, I'm going to avoid doing X, Y, or Z in the future. And you don't really know why. You're just like, I'm never going to live in that town again, or I'm never going to, wear those outfits again, or I'm going to start drinking coffee, or whatever it is that you think is going to keep that feeling of fear coming up. But, it's irrational. So when I say embrace fear, it's start to really pull it apart. What is it that what is it I'm trying to protect myself from? And what is the weird connection that I might be making to that thing, or the very real connection? Maybe, you made that bad investment or something. I'm just making this up. I don't know what you're afraid of, but let's just, make something innocuous, like you lost money in the stock market. You're going to try and find patterns. And this is like people who have, gambling problems, for example. They're very much into, this is my lucky rock. And if I go gambling with this rock, everything's going to be okay. Or I'm going to lose because I don't have my rock, right? So this is this kind of really weird thing that goes on in your brain, but makes a lot of sense from a biological evolutionary perspective. Avoid the things that got you into trouble and do the things that got you into a safe place. So what we're really talking about is that you're constantly looking for ways to protect yourself. So if your clients are coming to you and saying, I'm stuck in these things, it's because they haven't done that process, I would argue.